In this video, we're going to look at how to graph linear inequalities. So graphing them at first isn't all that different, but there are some little things at the end that we have to add in that are really important. So the first thing we want to do, just as if this were any regular equation, is we want to get this into slope-intercept form so that we can graph it. So if we subtract x from both sides and divide by -5, remember that dividing by a negative means that your sign is flipped. So our line is that y is less than -2 plus 1/5 x. So we're going to plot this as if it were a line in slope-intercept form where our 1/5 is our m and our -2 is our b. So we're going to go ahead and plot our y-intercept at -2 and then use that slope to plot the other points for the line. So our rise is 1 and our run is 5. And because that's as far as our graph goes, that's the only point I'm going to plot, so we're going to go ahead and connect those with a line. Now the important thing here is that we need to look at what this sign is. When we have greater than or less than, we need to use a dashed line. But if we have greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, it's a solid line. So you can go ahead and use this line at the bottom. That's how I always remember. If it's got the line at the bottom, it needs to be a solid line. If it doesn't, it has to be dashed. Now we have to take one extra step because this is an inequality. So because this doesn't say that y equals something, it says that y is less than something, which means that every y value that's less than this line, whatever that value may be, every y value that's in that area is going to satisfy the requirement that we need. So we have to figure out whether our y values lie on this top part of the graph or this bottom part of the graph. Or, if our line was more vertical, it would be this side of the graph versus this side of the graph. It's always going to be on either side of the line. To figure this out, we're going to choose a point on one side of the line and see whether or not it makes the inequality true. So what I always like to do is use the origin. 0, 0 is really easy to plug in and it doesn't fall on our line, so we should be good. So plugging in 0 for x and y, we get that 0 is less than -2 plus 1/5 times 0, which of course cancels out. So we have that 0 is less than -2. Now, is this true or not? Obviously, 0 is greater than -2, so it's not true. This tells us that everything that is on the other side of the graph is what we need to shade. If this were a true statement, we would have shaded the side of the graph that the point came from. To make sure that this is right, we can choose a point that is actually on the side of the shaded graph and make sure that this inequality works out. So I'm going to pick, let's go with 0, -5. Just because I picked something on an axis because I know that it's going to have a 0 in it, so it'll make our lives a little bit easier. So plugging these in for x and y, we get that -5 is less than -2 plus 1/5 times 0, which of course cancels out. So we have that -5 is less than -2, which checks out. So we shaded the correct side of the graph.